Hey folks, welcome back to our channel. So, today we've got a real blockbuster for you. One that's got actually more twists and turns than probably your favorite Hollywood action movie. So buckle up folks, today we're going to jump into the world of cash, crimes, and county additions. It's FinCEN's real estate takeover. Now, I'll tell you honestly, this is something that's been making waves here in South Florida for, slowly but surely, but it's really starting to crest right now, okay? And when it comes to kind of combating financial crimes, basically FinCEN, they're the new sheriffs in town, okay? And while it's not new, especially here in Broward County and Miami-Dade, okay, they basically just kind of upped the game a whole lot. So it's going to kind of blow your socks off. They've actually renewed the whole effort, and they've actually expanded what they call their geographic targeting orders, or GTOs. Okay, not like the Pontiacs, but the GTOs. So, and it's for real estate transactions here in South Florida. Okay, and these GTOs, they're really cracking down on the title companies. So, and before, it's no secret that that banks and most financial institutions, they have stuff like EDD, extended due diligence, and stuff like AML, all the anti-money laundering. But that's all been pretty much kept to the financial institutions. Now it's expanding out to the title companies, okay? And what it's really going to do is it's really just going to kind of make things a whole lot. It's going to change the game, change the way things are being done, the way that transactions are being funded, the way that they're being paid. So, so we're going to go ahead and jump into this. But before we do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us if you would, and turn on that notification bell so when we drop a new video, you get notified. So without further ado, folks, let's jump into what's going on with FinCEN. So folks, before we dive headfirst into all this new and interesting information that we're going to need to know, okay, let's start with kind of the basics. So we're talking about FinCEN, and really what, it's an acronym. It sounds really official because after all, it's kind of coming from the government. Okay, but what does FinCEN really mean? What's it? It's basically the Financial Crimes and Enforcement Network. And what it is, it's actually part of the Department of Treasury. So, so much like the IRS, they've got some teeth here. And their primary responsibility, much like it is with banks and other financial institutions, is to basically combat money laundering and combat illegal financial transactions. So, and it works with local law enforcement agencies, and it works with the local financial institutions, and it's now expanding out to the title companies and to other parts of the real estate community to work with them to make sure that not only does everybody know where the money's coming from, but we're not going out and doing some silly things like funding terrorist networks or funding illegal activities. Okay, and FinCEN is going to play a crucial role in making sure that everything stays above board. Now, if you're a buyer or a seller, this is going to be very, very important for you to know, very, very important for you to understand, because it's going to impact kind of how your offers are made, how your offers are accepted, okay? And it may actually ultimately impact kind of who your target buyer and seller audiences are, okay? So basically, think of it like this. It's this huge financial network that basically has all of this information that's kind of scattered around, and they're still pulling more and more in every time there's a real estate transaction, much like any time there's a banking transaction. Now, folks, if most of you have gone through, if you've flown outside of the continental United States, you got to fill out that little form from the customs folks. First question they ask you is, are you traveling with more than $10,000? Folks, that's kind of a subcomponent of this whole FinCEN, what's going on. They want to make sure that they know where the money's going to and where the money's coming from. Okay, and this intelligence now, the difference is now it's being shared with law enforcement agencies, and it's expanded the abilities of the law enforcement agencies to go out and do different things and be able to monitor these transactions. Okay, and then basically the idea is to use this intelligence network with this geographic targeting order, or these GTOs, as we mentioned before, to kind of basically focus in on what needs to be done. And again, like I said, it's not just focusing on the financial institutions now. Now it's going out into the title companies. It's going out to insurance companies. I mean, they're even looking at how insurance proceeds from damages and whatnot are being paid out and who they're being paid out to. So now that we have a little bit of an insight as to kind of what it is and kind of what they're doing, let's kind of jump in to see how it's impacting the real estate market specifically. So how's it really impacting the whole real estate big thing. Now, folks, this isn't just about South Florida, okay? And unlike some of our recent videos, we're talking about things that are impacting the state of Florida, and in some cases, they're impacting the entire country. And we talked about how there's changing property ownership rights and activities in our previous video. So, but basically, what you're going to do is that this is basically rolling out kind of it's a long anticipated. I mean, insurance companies, title companies, banking and financial institutions, mortgage lenders, mortgage brokers. We've all been dealing with this stuff. We've all been known it's been coming, okay? But basically, what it's really doing is now putting a focus on it. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you something you're probably not going to believe. But between 2015 and 2020, basically, it's a mind-blowing $2.3 billion was laundered through the U.S. and they believe that it was laundered illegally. It was illegal money, if you will. It was money that was just basically from ill-gotten gains. You know, could be anything, and who knows where it came from, and more importantly, who knows where it went. So, you know, I mean, this is almost like a scene from Miami Vice for those of you that are old enough like me to remember Miami Vice. Okay, so what this really comes down to is basically any cash purchases, all cash purchases of residential real estate of more than $300,000, you're going to, in certain metropolitan areas like New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, some of the major metropolitan areas, okay, they're basically, you're going to have to disclose where that money's coming from, okay? And by basically, it's now pushing the onus back on the title companies who handle all the closing activities to basically, verify and validate where that money is coming from. The days of being able to walk into, and we used to say this jokingly, well, the best offer we can get is a bag of non-sequential 20s. The days of walking in with a bag of non-sequential 20s and laying on the closing table, folks, those days are gone unless you can show where the money came from, okay? And what FinCEN is really trying to do is trying to create different parameters and trying to put parameters in so that basically, we know where that money's coming from, but more importantly, we know where the money's going to. So folks, why is this so significant? What's the significance about this, okay? Now, what's happening is that, first of all, this has been going on since 2021, so it's nothing new to anybody who's been in the biz and anybody who's actually doing any kind of investing. And again, it's been primarily down in Miami-Dade counties and also in Broward County down here in South Florida. But you folks over on the West Coast, over in Naples and in Collier County and Lee County, they're kind of seeing it too, anywhere where you have these high dollar real estate transactions or where you have a lot of transactions that come in from foreign investors. They'll come in, they'll basically pay cash, whatever they're purchasing. And again, they just want to know where it's coming from. But what it's really doing is it's identifying that, where are these monies coming from, as we said before, and where are they going to, okay? And what it really does is it kind of really reinforces a commitment to basically combating money laundering, or what we call AML, anti-money laundering. So, and then the other thing is this has been, like as I said, this has been going on in a lot of other industries that are predominantly cash businesses. You've seen it in high-end autos where you can go in and you purchase your car, your $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 car, you purchase cash and the dealer's just happy to sell the car. Okay, targeting the real estate industry is really kind of, for lack of a better term, it's putting the hammer down. It's letting investors know, because in some cases, especially here in Broward and Miami-Dade counties and in Palm Beach County also, I mean, it's not unusual at all to have transactions that run $2, $3, $4, $5 million. And we have actually seen instances where $2 and $3 and $4 million closings are basically done via cash. And I'm talking about coming in with a suitcase full of cash. Everybody knows that basically calling up your bank and having the monies wired and everything else, that's all taken care of. The title companies know where it's coming from. The banks know where it came from. But I'm talking about you come into a transaction and basically your buyer comes in and lays down a briefcase, opens it up, and it's a packet of hundreds. They're really kind of combating that. So, and what this is going to do, folks, this is going to cause a little bit of consternation, a little bit of concern for some of us that work with the high net worth sellers and the high net worth buyers, just to kind of make sure that we understand kind of how things are going and navigating through this. So, and it's just more of an effort to combat this ongoing challenge and this ongoing issues around money laundering. And just kind of as a by the by, if you will, okay. And folks, if you've been down in South Florida for a while, we've been down here for a number of years, but if you've been down in South Florida for a while, you remember the days back in the 80s where the drug traffic was so strong and basically all the transactions were in cash and everything was going on. But even back in 2018, they had a big showdown in Miami between the Treasury Department trying to understand where this money was coming from and a lot of the foreign investors that were coming in and basically paying cash. I mean, it wasn't unusual back in 2018, 2019 to have foreign investors come into Miami and buy buildings for cash. I'm talking 15, 20, 25, $40 million buildings, bringing in basically suitcases full of cash. So this is going to really put the kibosh on a lot of that. So folks, it's like every other thing that's going on, okay, where there is the potential for folks to try to do good, there's also also the predominance of folks that are coming back and saying, hey, look, there's critics for everything that goes on, okay? And the critics for this is really kind of talking about is basically at least kind of a loophole for people to basically use other forms of payment. Obviously, anybody that's been watching the news lately, you hear all about Bitcoin and the digital currencies. There are some title companies that are basically even looking at leveraging Bitcoin and other digital currencies to pay for properties, okay? But really, because this applies to the all cash transactions, if you will, the criticisms aren't that it's being too confining. The criticisms are basically that you're not capturing all of the other potential options. It needs to be expanded in to considering other forms of payment. Okay. Now, but most folks do agree that at least starting here with the all cash transactions and putting a limit on those cash transactions is a step in the right direction, and it's a good start. Okay. And it really kind of demonstrates the proactive approach by FinCEN and by the Treasury Department to try to get their arms around these transactions, to try to understand what's going on. Folks, again, what we're really talking about is making sure that we're not, that money that's coming in, that we know where it came from, so it didn't come from ill-gotten gains. And more importantly, when money goes back out to a seller, okay, that money is not going to be going to fund terrorist organizations or any kind of illicit activities that could be harmful to the community and could be harmful to the United States. And here's the thing, in doing all this research, and I've done a lot of other research around the EDD, the extended due diligence that most financial institutions employ, and also a lot of the anti-money laundering regulations and rules that a lot of the banks, because we deal with banks all the time down in our real estate business. We've been doing a lot of research into that, but basically, again, the FinCEN and the Department of Treasury has come to the conclusion that they need to stick a stick in the ground somewhere and start. And the real estate community, the real estate transactions are basically, it's their place to start. Now, again, as we said before, okay, it's not the be all end all, but again, it's basically, it's a place to start. Now, there are a lot of folks that have been facing criticism in the real estate industry. We've been having some challenges already in talking to folks as far as, when you want to make a cash offer, are you truly making a cash offer? Okay. And, just so that everybody understands, when you come to closing, the title company is going to want to know where those monies came from. So if you're bringing cash, terrific. Just make sure you know where it's coming from. If you're doing cash, which means you're not financing, as it were, okay, then that's a whole different story. And a lot of this FinCEN stuff, FinCEN doesn't even apply to you, okay? But again, with any kind of regulations, there are some rooms for improvement, but this is a start. And since the real estate market, especially here in South Florida and in the Miami-Dade and Broward counties, is such a crucial role in the economy, okay, ensuring the integrity of the market and ensuring the integrity of the transactions is really paramount to basically making sure that everything goes according to plan and that we are providing a transparent financial system and financial transaction. So folks, like I said, they've made it tougher for the bad guys to be able to use real estate to hide behind their ill-gotten gains and everything, whatnot. It's like putting a whole bunch of locks in a treasure chest that folks usually just be able, all they had to do was flip open the lid. And there are folks, like I said, who have raised their eyebrows about it. There are folks that are critics, and everything that's being done today, they're going to be critics. There are folks that are for it, there are folks that are against it, so there's going to be critics. Okay, but basically what it's really going to do is it's going to provide transparency, much needed transparency into the real estate transactions that are going on here in South Florida, Miami-Dade counties and Broward counties and Palm Beach counties, where we basically serve. So what you're going to see, and hopefully, folks, if you've enjoyed the video and you found it knowledgeable and you found it interesting and you found it somewhat entertaining, okay, please feel free to go ahead and drop your comments in the box below. If you would consider subscribing so that we can increase and grow our channel, and click that bell so you can stay updated with every time we drop a new video. So thanks a million for tuning in. We're here to make things fun, make things exciting, and make things educational. So until our next adventure, keep your eyes on the screen, and we'll catch you in the next video.